We're on to complex fractions. This is basically the same thing you did in section 1, but now they're just disguised a little differently. So we're going to factor the numerator of the numerator here. So I get x minus 2 times x minus 2. And the denominator will be, well, let's pull out that GCF first of 2. Hopefully you noticed that. All right, so we'll have a 2, and then it'll be x minus 1 times x minus 4. Nothing simplifies there in this fraction, so we'll change this division, okay, this was division here, to multiplication, and now we'll factor that 4x minus 10 and put factoring here. So I get 2, my GCF, and then x, or actually 2x minus 5. And then the denominator is our difference of squares. So x minus 2 times x plus 2. All right, so hopefully you notice we have that 2 and then an x minus 2. Does anything else simplify? Unfortunately, it does not. So our answer is x minus 2 times 2x minus 5. And you do not need to multiply these. You can leave them as the product of your binomials. All right, so that's letter A. So for B, we need to find our numerator, simplify that. So I'm going to have 1 over x minus 1 over y. And our least common multiple here would be xy. So multiply this by y. And I'll multiply this by x. So what do we get? Y minus x over xy. The denominator of letter B is already simplified, so I don't need to do anything with that. Just a reminder, that means divide. So let's go ahead and write what we have for our numerator, y minus x over xy. And let's change that division to multiplication. And now that denominator of xy becomes the numerator. And then x squared minus y squared, let's factor that. That's going to be x minus y times x plus y. So right away, hopefully you see that xy's would divide out to be a 1. But then we have a y minus x, and an x minus y, and an x plus y. Hopefully remember, we can factor out a negative 1 here. So I can factor out a negative 1, and that will become a negative y plus x, which, if we do the commutative property, is the same as x minus y. So we can simplify this x minus y with this negative y plus x. So what is left here? Well, the numerator has a negative 1 in it, and the denominator has x plus y. And on to our last problem. This one here is a little bit more work because we don't have one single fraction in our numerator and denominator. So I'm going to first get a common denominator for the numerator here. So it's going to be x plus 6 times 2x minus 1. That's my least common multiple. So what did I multiply 5 by here? Well, I multiplied that 5, I'm going to do times 2x minus 1 because that's the new factor in my denominator. And for the second one, I had to multiply that denominator by x plus 6 so that 2x is going to be multiplied by x plus 6 as well. And again, I like to make that minus sign into a plus and bring that negative up. Right. So let's go ahead and distribute. So I get 10x minus 5, and then negative 2x squared minus 12x. So my numerator is negative 2x squared minus, remember that's a 10 up front, not a 16. So minus 2x and then minus 5. And it's all over that denominator of x plus 6, 2x minus 1. And you think we're done, but that's just the numerator. So now the denominator. We need to get our least common multiple here. Notice we have the same binomial. So our least common multiple is going to be the same thing. So we have to think, hey, what did we multiply the denominator of the first fraction by? Well, we multiplied it by x plus, that is a 6. Hard to see that. And what did we multiply the second fraction by? 2x minus 1. So let's go ahead and distribute. We get x squared plus 6x. And here we get 8x minus 4. Like terms, we get x squared plus 14x minus 4. And then our denominator is 2x minus 1 times x plus 6. This does not factor. So let's go ahead and just set this up. This is going to be our denominator. We were dividing by this, so I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. I'll put the 2x minus 1, x plus 6 in the numerator, and then x squared plus 14x minus 4 in the denominator. And the first fraction was that negative 2x squared minus 2x minus 5, and then x plus 6, 2x minus 1. Notice these are the same, x plus 6, x plus 6, 2x minus 1, 2x minus 1. We couldn't factor either of these trinomials, so we're just going to write our solution here. So it's negative 2x squared minus 2x minus 5 all over x squared plus 14x minus 4. So with complex fractions, take it slow. Remember, it's the top expression divided by the bottom expression. You're going to change that to multiplication after you simplify the numerator and denominator to get those one single fractions. You always look to see if you can factor out a negative 1, and make sure you check, can we factor, in order to simplify that even more. All right? Hope you do well. Take care.